Welcome to another edition of BCR Webcasting. Today, I'm joined by Federico Avellán Borgmeyer, who's Chief Partner Officer at efcom. Federico, welcome. We have spoken before quite recently, and I'm very happy to be talking to you again. This time I've got some fresh questions for you. But on some interesting topics. And I should say, and remind everyone, in case they didn't see the last webcast we did with you, that you're going to be present at our MENA SCF conference, which is going to take place in Dubai on the 5th and 6th of November. And you'll be exhibiting there, and you will have a colleague there, Abdel Rahman, who will be speaking in one of the sessions on Islamic finance and SCF opportunities and challenges. But today, I don't want to talk particularly about the MENA region. That's just one of the very dynamic regions there are at the moment around the globe. So where else does efcom want to be more active? In emerging markets like Africa and India, for example, are they on your radar for more involvement and more activity?
Right, Michael. Well, thank you first for having me on the second topic on board, and yes, looking forward to meet you again in Dubai in November. As for your question. Where do we want to be active? You know, the DACH markets, DACH means Deutschland, Österreich, die Schweiz, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, are our core markets. This is where we came from. However, we see European markets are facing a certain degree of maturity. If I look back at what happened last week, we had a gathering here in Germany of together with the German Association Factoring and all the players, and it was a bit of a depressing depressing mood, because the first two speakers gave us an insight on what's going on right now. Germany is going to grow 0 during 2024. And
you mean the economy or factoring?
The economy and factoring, first time ever. Okay, so this is the thing. Not even during COVID times did we have an event like that. So this is in 50 years of factoring association, and seeing the numbers just going one way up. Now there is no up, there is leveling in 2024. We saw the trend coming. Obviously, there was this COVID, and there was a slump, and then, but in principle, we had a super hike last year, and now we're at 0. So we saw the trend coming, and that's why we started a few years ago to go international. We're not the first one doing that, because we have competitors in the market that have been doing that also, and earlier than us. But hey, we came a few years ago, right? Now the question was where to go. Where are the markets in international?
And it's an interesting, very interesting question, because some of your competitors have dipped their toe into other markets, new emerging markets, and haven't been particularly successful. Not necessarily recently, but in the last few years, let's say. So it's not necessarily a very, it's not a proven area in some of these emerging markets. So sorry, I interrupted you, but how do you think you're going to succeed here where others have not succeeded?
Yeah, so we thought, where should we go? You know, I'm half of mine is Latin American. So you would say, okay, Federico goes to Latin America, goes from Mexico to Argentina. Yeah, while I would like to do that, these are not the markets where we're going primarily. We're primarily going to markets that we think are strategic. And when I say strategic, I mean markets where you go to stay, not a market where you go try to fish something and then go. No. Or try your best, and if it doesn't go. No. So we're apart from the Middle East, which was part of our previous webcast, we're there to stay. That's why we're hiring people that speak the language, people understand the region. We look for partners locally. So the Middle East is one. The other one is India. India just surpassed Germany in its GDP, and it will not stay like that for the moment. It surpassed and will keep growing like China did, you know. So India is an economy that's growing double digit on its way up. It's doing a little bit the Chinese story in a not so fast pace, but faster than most of the economies that we see out there. And there is a boomtown kind of spirit in the region. So India for us is a market. And then Africa. I mean, Africa is super diverse. It's like when, you know, it's not like when Americans come to Europe and they say, I'm going to Europe. Well, where are you going to Europe? Europe is a continent. It's super diverse. So is Africa, super diverse. North Africa is a complete different thing than Sub-Saharan Africa, and Southern Africa, and so it goes west and east, Franco, Anglo, none of the two. So Africa is not Africa, but the continent in per se, representing today not even, I think, 1% of global factoring, is going to be another spot that we're hitting or heading for. So those are the regions, and those are already enough.
India, I can see there's certainly some traction there. You've got the trades platforms which are enabling huge volumes processing through those platforms.
Yeah.
Have the factoring law, new factoring law there for I don't know, 3 or 4 years now.
Correct.
And as you say, things really are looking good there and beginning to accelerate. Africa, I'm not so sure. I mean, there is the new law there which has been adopted by quite a few jurisdictions. FCI working with Afreximbank to put that in place 3 years ago. But you know, it's a huge continent. There's a lot of diversity there in terms of cultures and knowledge and education.
Yes.
I personally see that as still quite a tough region.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not a quick win at all. That's why I said at the beginning, we're seeing this strategic. I'm talking about 5-10 years from now, you know. Yeah. And Germany is going to be the oldest geography in 2030. So where do you think the growth is going to come from? Africa is going to be, from a population point of view, the fastest growing and one of the largest population spots in the world. So guess where the growth is going to come from? So this is a more forward-looking thing. So I'm not at the beginning of my professional career, but I'm thinking for the company in terms of where is this company, or should this company be in 5 to 10 years time? This is what the corporate visionary leader, whatever, should do. You know, of course, we can go for the quick wins only. We do that also, but you also have to look for.
You have a medium to long-term strategy with this in mind.
Absolutely, and we do that with partners that are local. That means that know the markets, that are in there, that have local employees that know very well what's going on, and this is how we think. And we're not going to have efcom subsidiaries in 40 or 50 countries in Africa.
Let's head back to the MENA region for a moment, and how that's developing. And
yeah.
I just want to ask you about other potential types of factoring that can be used by large corporates there. For example, we've seen intercompany factoring, sometimes called captive factoring in other regions. Do you think this is going to be something that'll arise and move?
Absolutely. I mean, as you said, intercompany factoring means that you have to have a company that can do that. So we're talking about big corporations, multinational companies, preferably, that work in so many different geographies, large volumes in intercompany activities. Yes. Interestingly enough, we have a client that's in the UAE doing intra-company factoring. They have an excess of over 20 billion USD in turnover, and yeah, their treasury department is using our application now for, I don't know, is it 10 or 15 years? It's a long time. And yeah, their treasurer is working with our application, and they do a lot of good to themselves by doing that. And I think the Emirates, particularly Dubai, is a very interesting spot, or becoming a very interesting spot for those multinationals. And I believe very much that we're not the only ones understanding that, but also the big CFOs and treasury departments from large corporates. I saw that actually in the BCR event on the 5th and 6th in November. There's going to be panels and stuff talking about that. Well, in this case, we have expertise and solution in doing that for 10, 15 years so far, and our clients are super happy with that.
Sure. So
it should be on any CFO / head of treasury agenda. If you're working for a multinational company, to look into that. Not doing it would be, like omitting the saving of a lot of money. Something I will not disclose here during our discussion, but something that is something to be discussed in.
Yeah, absolutely. Intra-company working capital management is it's important strategically.
Absolutely.
For large, particularly international, but even domestic.
Correct.
And just finally, the question about innovations in fintech, and what sort of new innovations are poised to shape the future of supply chain finance. I mean, everyone now is talking about AI. What's your view on that? And is there anything else that we should be looking at in terms of new technology?
Right. Well, I always sound like a recorder that's being played again, because everyone and you just mentioned it, Michael, talking about it, and that's definitely the use of AI. And we go a bit further. We say, we use machine learning, and we have been using it in different areas already, and not since yesterday. It's been now for 10 years. And I studied AI many years ago. When people said, did that exist already? Well, I said, yeah, AI is something that actually was invented in your country during Second World War. And therefore, but the power of computing in those days, was very limited, and the amount of data available was also limited. Now we have power of computing, and we have a bunch of data. So that's why AI, machine learning. And that allows us to, produce and develop solutions that are useful, not just because it's now chic to say we have AI. No, because they really bring value add. One solution that's been there for quite a while is what we call factoring expert matching, that allows to match open invoices with payments that come in. Not all of them become matched automatically when the system is seeing a payment coming in, and is it allocated to this invoice or that invoice? So 30 to 50% can be matched, and the rest is manual work, tedious manual work. Nobody likes to do that, but it has to happen every morning. So we have a solution where the machine tells you, hey, Michael, I believe that this payment is paying that invoice or those invoices, even if there is no exact solution. So using fuzzy logic, as we call it. So this is one. Another one is one that we have been working on right now for 2 years, in designing and beta testing with clients, etc. And we call it CUBX, CUBX, in order to identify anomalies in a factor's ecosystem, analyzing customer behavior in real time, meaning like if you were going around with with an Apple Watch that's telling you your post rate is now over or anomaly high. So it's telling you what is happening in a factor's ecosystem. And why is it good? Well, because it helps you to prevent financing problematic clients. Nobody wants to finance someone who's going to go insolvent in 2-3 months' time. You don't want to do that. And the system will give you indications if this is most likely to happen. Nobody can look into the future for certain, but
your cash matching system, for example, that's been something you've been offering for a few years now, I think.
Yeah.
Right. So what is it about the huge surge in interest in AI now? Why has that happened? And is there anything connected with that huge surge in interest now that can be applied to factoring supply chain finance platforms now or in the near future?
Yeah, I mean, the reason being, Michael, our efcom systems transact per year a bit more than 200 billion euro in factoring volume, over 100 million invoices per year. So this is a huge amount of data. I mean, this is not our data, this is our clients' data. But we provide the instruments that with this huge amount of data, they don't just do the right job in doing factoring, which we do. So we're doing the right job. The question is, we're doing the job right. The job right in the sense of we're doing it correctly. So the transactions will be managed and made historic, and reminders will be sent out, etc. Until they become historic. But the question I made myself is, are we doing the right job with sitting on a pile of data? And the answer was not really, because I believe that there's more on something when you are sitting on a bunch of data that is giving you most likely very valuable information. So the first thing I did is I hired a data scientist, and I told him, tell me what's in there. What do you see as a data scientist in all that pile of data? You're not an expert in factoring, because everyone in the company would say, well, it's very evident what's in there, Federico. Well, I want to ask someone who's sitting out of the box and tells us what's in there. So he started working on it. And after some time, now we're receiving where we can give answers to something that we didn't know we could give.
Are we going to be seeing, NVIDIA, for example, this company that has very recently become one of the most valuable companies globally. worth, I think, over $1 trillion,
Mm.
2 or 3 trillion, was in fact the most valuable company in the world a few months ago. I think it's between them and Apple, or maybe Microsoft. Those 3 companies are anyway, most valuable, and they've suddenly got into this position because they've produced these AI chips,
Correct.
which presumably are able to have massive computing power, or using AI technology in a way that hasn't been
Correct.
before. Are we going to see this type of technology coming into?
Absolutely. I mean, we're not using conventional laptops and computers to do what we're doing right now. So we have to, let's say, borrow power computing from very big companies that have the super computing power to process the data that we're not now using to testing.
Right.
And yes,
so you gave a couple of examples: cache matching. There's also other forms of data analysis to pick up trends as to what people are doing, what clients are doing out there, and what their clients are doing.
Bear in mind that you want to give real-time information. You don't want to gather the data, then overnight do the work, and next morning you say ping. No.
Yeah.
You're using the application, and suddenly at some moment in time during the day, the machine will tell you, ping, watch out, something is happening right now, at this moment. So go to the hospital. No, watch at this client, and because something is going completely out of sync, and you should at least have a look what's going on.
Yeah. So
you don't want to be the Lehman victim, AAA, and next morning done. This is not going to happen anymore.
Yeah. So I can see that these can be very, very valuable and useful tools.
Yeah.
To banks and factory operators. Is there anything else on the horizon which is really going to be encompassing or adopting the use of AI or even other technologies?
Well, if I look into the African market, sometimes being a laggard is an advantage if there is a new technology coming in. And you can basically take that new technology without having to go through the path that the others went through. In our geography, we're still using cables all over, because that's what we used to do to communicate to each other. In Africa, you don't have that infrastructure at all. So, and you will not set it up. It's not going to happen, and it's not useful. What you will do is you go mobile right away. And we know that from payment systems in Africa are mobile. And that's why we believe that the solutions that we're going to provide in that area are going to be rather mobile as well. You probably have a better connectivity with the rest of the world using your mobile device than if you have your computer connected to a DSL line somewhere. Maybe that DSL line is not working. I see that when I have LinkedIn's or WebEx or whatsoever with our clients and partners in Africa. But if you do a mobile connection, the mobile connection is working. And so you probably see that happening as well over there.
So this is something, some advantage that emerging markets have, that they can maybe leapfrog in terms of use of technology. Yes. They don't have these legacy systems that slow them down in terms of technological development. So that's interesting. Federico, I'm going to stop it there because we're running out of time, but clearly this is a very interesting topic, and there'll be a lot more discussion on this at our MENA event. It
won't be our last conversation, Michael.
Absolutely, it doesn't look like it at all, does it? Just to remind everyone, that's MENA is on at the Western in Dubai on the 5th and 6th of November. and efcom will be there, and these discussions will continue. So please do try and join us there. Federico, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Michael, for having me. Good luck, and see you in Dubai later.
In Dubai. Thank you.
Bye-bye.